Hello. You know me by now. It's a third day together, so allow me instead to introduce the topic for this morning. It's mindful listening, why I tried intelligence. Now, humans have for long relied on the cranial brain for meeting and fulfilling their needs. But exciting recent research has extracted the significance of two other brains, the heart and the gut, which now are of equal importance to the head brain. So, what might these three brains have in common, and in what ways might they individually influence us more directly and distinctly, is the topic of our inquiry today. You might have used frequently verbal expressions that are indicative of wisdom from one particular brain source, which you are unconsciously using or maybe denying. And if you hear yourself say, "My gut tells me to stay away from that person," and you yet ignore the warning, it's perhaps to your own peril. Or you have heard a small voice from somewhere here, somewhere inside, whisper to you how precious you are, and you have scoffed at the very idea of it, knowing yourself to be anything but precious. We call this an inner voice of the heart that frequently gets dismissed in favor of the louder, screaming critic that permanently resides in our consciousness, in the overly rationalizing part of the brain in our head. Many times we may pendulate between advice given by these three brains, the brain in the head, the heart brain, and the gut brain, unable to decide on the veracity of their wisdom. And you may make errors of judgment if you are predisposed towards listening to only one brain. So what one may then learn is how to amalgamate the promptings of these three inner guides and come up with one favorable outcome to your benefit. So becoming self-aware is the first step towards gaining control of any mess that we are in, whether physical, whether emotional, whether mental, anything. And to do that, know which brain is your favorite to go to place. Do you reside in the logical, airy realm of your head brain, or in the emotional waters of your heart brain, or in the intuitive sensibilities of your gut brain? Do you take decisions after considering the realistic nature of what lies before you, or are you overcome with feelings every time you have to take a stand? Or do you delay decisions unless based on an intuitive sense of what's possible and doable? A kind of a inner knowing, if you please. So those of us that push rationality and logic above all else reside pretty much up there, refusing to accept one's emotions with regard to any situation. Here the ego and the superego ensure that we are constrained within the limits of shoulds and should nots. We use discrimination and discernment to get by in life. We need this brain to classify and organize data so that our memory banks easily store and restore data as and when we need it. But simply relying on this brain makes us mentally frigid and dry, notwithstanding the intelligence that we have from a big-sized neocortex. Why would we ever then come up against problems when we are so mentally smart? The thing is that there's no guarantee that we will have utmost clarity when we deny, avoid, or simply scoff at the existence of our feelings. Your heart is a self-regulatory organ to a large extent, and it is ruled by its spontaneous, fun-loving nature. You cannot curb forever things like love, kindness, and compassion. These are attributes of our innate nature, unless, of course, the heart has shut down irrevocably under trauma. Now, without the guidance of your heart, you will never be able to truly listen to others. The heart muscle beats the wondrous sounds of nature from around us. For instance, when we hear birds singing, the sound goes straight to our heart chambers, flooding our arteries with fresh bursts of blood. But then, if our actions are only dictated by the song from our heart, then we may succumb to desire consistently. Our wants may take precedence over all else, practicality included. And most of us that may have encountered this kind of thing, of course, in love. Now, have you ever been bullied in childhood? Like, really bullied? Apart from being seriously mad with this bully and being unable to fight back, obviously, because he or she is the bully. Because fleeing was a better defense for you at that time. There was something else you learned as well. At the body level, you integrated a sense of fear. And today, as an adult, whenever a bully-like experience happens in your life, you intuitively connect with that old fear, and you know it's time to flee. Like you would not like to have dinner with a bullying boss. You just know you don't like this person, but you don't know why. And you may put it down to irrational thinking. This is your versatile nervous system in the gut coming to your rescue. It may disclose to you what and where and how you're getting information from where, but it protects you with this kind of inner knowing. Your intuition about someone or something can never be irrational. Your behavioral response to it probably could be. So there is implicit memory in the cells of your gut, butterflies in the pit of your stomach, a sinking feeling right there, right here, down here, vague unease. All these signals are so diffuse and unclear to most people that they're usually ignored. There's something happening, but I just don't know what it is. Now, every person has an enteric nervous system doing exactly the same thing, sending and receiving messages to and fro between itself and the other two brains, mostly sending. And yet people don't believe they're naturally intuitive. Imagine that. It's just that you place your awareness in a certain brain, which may be your practical head brain, and that works best for you, and you ignore the other two, the messages from the other two. So the question never is whether you are right or wrong about your most preferred style of interaction with the world. Rather, the question is, which mode of expression, thought-based, emotional, or intuitive, do you suppress? Now, we are born with the dominant style, each one of us, but sadly enough, it becomes our defense mode in all difficult situations, and otherwise too. So unless we learn to express the other two styles as well, from the heart and the gut, or from the heart and the brain, or from the gut and the brain, so there we have the head, the heart, the gut, right? And when we keep the communication channels open between these three, mainly the nervous system, the circulatory system, the fascia, and the metaphysical meridians and chakras, all these are your communication channels in your body, we can clearly see a resonance between the three organs, your brain, your heart, and your gut. It's very much like what happens with a client that comes in for counseling therapy, all muddled out here, disturbed, all confused internally at a body level, unable to feel the full implications of what's going on over here, and then they leave with clarity. Psychology calls it a dissolution of his or her cognitive dissonance. What happens? The body and mind is finding homeostasis all the time, a balancing of all the internal stuff. That is the biology, the physiology, the functions, the psychology. So to end with, here's an inquiry that we might well do. Where would you rather be in life? Being derailed constantly by three opposing forces, which are equally strong and vocal, leading to inner conflict? Or would you not rather find something of value in the collaborative efforts of all three? And when we ignore or suppress or deny the messages from any of the brains, we are in resistance mode. And you know as well as I do that what we resist persists. We've seen it time and again. Knowing thoughts about your neighbor that you suppress won't leave you just because you feign a big fake smile each time you cross paths. Or the constantly prevailing thought that you are somehow flawed won't disappear because you ignore it. And just because you guzzle alcohol or burn cigarettes or burn the midnight oil at your local social events or simply surf the internet 24/7 will not bring you reprieve, because inner discontent has a way of getting bigger and bigger when ignored. I'm concluding today with the essential nature of all three methods of signaling. our bodies have perfected over generations. Tomorrow, we will find worthwhile reasons to harness the energy of all three: the head, the heart, and the gut, which is very necessary for our well being and health. So until tomorrow, goodbye. Have a good day.
Help Talks are daily health related talks held at Health Education Library for People, Mumbai, India. For more information, visit www.healthlibrary.com. Subscribe to Help Talks channel. Be better informed about your health.